Okay. Now we have to understand the types of operating system. Okay. I never teach by reading book. Okay. But today I am actually bringing these topics one by one, just to make sure that your fundamentals are very strong when we start working on the commands. So when we say types of operating system, guys, in your day-to-day life, you are using Android phones. So the people who are using Android, I mean Samsung or the phone which are built with Android, that is the Android is the operating system which is facilitating between your applications of your cell phone and the mobile hardware. Okay, so it is the operating system. Android is the operating system. Have you guys ever heard about this Android word? Have you guys ever heard about it? It is open source, but though it is basically built by Google. Okay, so basically all the iPhones I watch, they have the separate operating system, that is iOS. So they have named it with iOS, but again, that is also doing the same job of facilitating between the hardware and the software. Okay, then after that, these are the very popular operating systems used in smartphones. Okay, and now coming to the laptops and your desktops servers. So we have very popular operating system, that is Windows. So we have like Windows 7, 8, 10, 11. I mean, a lot of versions of Windows in your desktops, right? In your laptops. That is the operating system. Then second is the Mac operating system. So the people who owns Mac laptop, MacBooks, they have this Mac operating system. Okay, and after that we have the Linux. Linux is very special for all the engineers. Okay, okay. Now, guys, I tell you one thing, that essentially all the operating systems are doing the same job. Every operating system does the same job. Like if someone says, oh, Windows is very very slow as compared to Mac OS, or someone says iOS is better than Android, or someone says no, Android OS is much better than iOS. But when I see it technically, I say everything is operating system. You can't compare Android with iOS or iOS with Mac or Windows with Mac. You cannot compare it. Everything is essentially, at the end of the day, is the operating system, which has only one main reason of facilitating the conversation or becoming an interface between software and hardware. So essentially every operating system does the same job. Now Google launched this Android, Apple launched this iOS, Microsoft launched Windows, Apple launched Mac. For MacBook they launched Mac OS. So every other company, they just launch their own flavors, but essentially everything is working as it is. So if you say that Mac OS is faster than Windows, no, I don't believe that. If someone says Linux is faster than everything, no, I don't believe that. Okay, I don't believe that. Now understand one more thing, guys, that all the operating system, whichever you pick, whether you pick Android, whether you pick iOS, whether you pick Windows, Mac, Linux, whichever operating system you pick, that operating system has two parts: shell and kernel. So if you say that Android does not have shell and kernel, I don't agree. iOS has shell and kernel, Windows has shell and kernel, and Mac, Linux, everything has shell and kernel. Okay. Now, okay. Now, now let's understand one important fact. Okay. See, Mac operating system, Windows operating system, iOS, and Android, they have a very fancy screens. They have very fancy screens that on those screens you will see buttons, you will see images, you will see very fancy. It's like it's a very user friendly, isn't it? Android, iOS, Windows, Mac OS. Do you guys agree that everything is so fancy? But with Linux, do you think it's fancy? Now, that is the advantage of Linux. because all these OS operating system, they added those graphics, they made this operating system heavier. Linux is lightweight because it does not have any graphic. And that is why this has become the choice of servers, choice of engineers, choice of all the applications, because Linux is so lightweight. It does not have graphical user interface. That's why Linux also comes in two parts, into CLI and graphical. But graphical is not so famous. It's not so popular. Only CLI is popular. That's why shell scripting, Linux is scripting, because Linux, that is the advantage. When people come to Linux, they always feel, why do I need to run a command to create a folder? Why do I need to run cd command to change the directory? Why can't I just do it quickly? If I want to change the directory in my laptop over here, I'll just quickly click on that directory and I'll go inside it. But in Linux, I have to type the commands. So the people who come very first time to Linux, they always have this question that why the hell Linux does not have the graphical user interface. But on the other hand, that is the biggest advantage with Linux, that it makes it so lightweight that it does not have all these, icons. It does not have all these pictures, the colors. It does not have that, all the, fancy items. So if you look at this, if you look at this, let's imagine I open it. What is this? You think it's a folder, but if you look at the from a graphical perspective, it is actually an image. This is another image. This is another image. This is actually an image. So what are you doing? You're trying to put lot of things on your operating system by putting graphical pressure on it. So a lot of students, they always come to me and ask me this question. I was expecting from you guys that why Linux is preferred when other operating systems has so fancy graphical interface. So do you guys understand that why Linux is preferred choice across the industry? Okay, so what we have gone through, I just want to give a quick recap, guys, everyone. First is, operating system is a friend of hardware and software. Second thing, there are multiple types of operating system: Android, iOS, Windows, Mac, Linux. Third, Linux is the best, considered as best operating system for running the applications, hosting the applications, because of it lightweight. Fourth, operating system has two parts: shell and kernel. Got it, guys?
Thank you for watching. Switch from non-IT to IT today. Explore www.thinkcloudly.com.